welcome everybody to another episode of Meet Your Neighbors Branford. We're right here in Branford's post office, U.S. Post Office in Branford, where this is actually the office of the postmaster, Michelle Longobardi, and we're going to be meeting and interviewing Pat Anderson to learn about the Postal Food Drive, which is an effort. It's called actually Stamp Out Hunger, an effort to help those in need of food in our community, and we'll find out a lot about it. So welcome, Pat.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us on Meet Your Neighbors.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so welcome, Pat.
Thank you.
So we're going to put the spotlight on you first, if that's okay.
That's fine.
We'd like to know, just for starters, how long you've lived in Branford.
I live in Guilford, actually.
Oh!
I live in Guilford, but I've been a letter carrier right here in Branford. I'm just starting my 35th year.
But you are a neighbor to us because you work in
the
here.
Branford Post Office.
I do.
So you qualify.
I know more people in this town than I know at home.
You just threw me a second. And how long have you worked for the Branford Post Office?
Just started my 35th year.
Wow, that's a lot of years,
That's
right?
a lot of years.
And you've been involved with the food drive for how long?
Approximately 13 years I've been coordinating the food drive here in Branford.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And also your function in the post office, you've recently retired, is that?
No, I am active.
Beautiful, but your role is, aside from mail carrier, you are?
I'm a letter carrier first. I'm the chief union steward here in Branford second, food drive coordinator third, and let's just switch hats.
Yeah, you've got a lot of hats. Well, first of all, I really want to emphasize the fact that this year's food drive is on the 11th of May, Saturday of Mother's Day weekend. I think that's important to remember. And also, I'd like to know more about it. I think everyone would. We can talk to that person later.
Well, first,
You're calling in already.
first I'd like to say that this is actually a joint effort between the United States Postal Service and the National Association of Letter Carriers, which is our union. We could not do this if it were not for management allowing us the time and the personnel to get this done. It is a joint effort, and it's a huge effort. It is the largest single-day food drive in the country.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
it is. Yes, it is.
And so, is it just local? You're saying in the country, so it's a nationwide.
It is.
Yeah.
It is national. As a matter of fact, we have just brought on board the National Rural Carriers Union, and so it's very good to have them out there as well. Those were communities that were not participating in our food drive, but the rural carriers came on board, and now we can cover those towns as well.
That's wonderful. So, how did it get started?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, how it got started, I would have to believe that it was an effort from the union to provide community service, which we are a big part of. We're also a big part of MDA and some other organizations.
Yeah, and since its title really is Stamp Out Hunger, so it must have been a greater need at the time it got started. We'll have to find out when that was. So how long has it been going on here in this branch?
This is our 27th annual food drive.
Wow.
This May. It's always the Saturday before Mother's Day, which is the second Saturday in May. It never changes. That's the date always. The date changes, but the second Saturday of May is when we do it.
I'm curious, is every single state in our country do this, or are there some that just don't?
There's some that do not participate, but you also have to understand that there's so many rural areas. Let's just take the state of Maine for instance. There's so many places up there, and they contract carriers differently than we do. We are city carriers. If we have a uniform on, we're considered a city carrier. Obviously, our part-timers that come in are in civilian clothes for the first 120 days. Then they get their uniform allotments and they go into uniforms. So really, outside of the rural carriers doing what they do, most everybody out there picking up food will be in uniform.
So Pat, can you give us in detail how it works specifically in Branford?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On May 11th of 2019, this year, our customers can donate either non-perishable items. They can also put out a monetary denomination of a check made out to the food bank, or however they see fit. A lot of times people are somewhat apprehensive as to put out 5 cans of food or 7 cans of food. They feel as if they're going to be, their carrier will get mad at them or whatever like that. That is not the case. The case is if there's 20 bags at your mailbox, we'd be more than happy to pick that up and distribute it to the food bank. Also would like to go on record as saying that anything that is picked up here in Branford, regardless of what it is, stays local. Every single town, state, all that food that is collected stays local. It does not go anywhere else. So, the food bank here in Branford, they really rely on this one-day food drive in order to fill their shelves.
Yeah, so that you're saying if they actually were going to do a check, it would be made out to the Branford Food Pantry.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So what I'm not clear about, I understand that if we live in a private home, we can attach the bags to the mailbox and put it around our mailbox.
Absolutely.
But what about if we live in a condo, or like we live in an apartment building here in Branford?
Sure.
How do we do that?
Well, if you don't have a centralized area where you feel comfortable leaving the food, you could always bring it down to the post office. We will have bins set up outside where you can drop it off that way, and we will definitely make sure that the food pantry, gets your donation.
And when can we also on the 11th to drop it off here?
Sure, certainly can, and we usually do it for a full week afterwards. Sometimes people are out of town, other obligations, working obligations. We can collect your food here at the post office prior to the 11th or after the 11th, and it will still get distributed locally.
Okay, so that's really wonderful.
Yeah, so what I would like to know is how successful the program is, both locally and nationally. So just some estimates.
Well, here in Branford, we usually average between 8,000 and 12,000 pounds on a single day here in Branford. And nationally, for the last, I believe it's 12 consecutive years, we have collected well over 70 to 71 million pounds on a single day.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
So,
and it also equates out to, since the food drive's inception, approximately 1.4 billion pounds of food has been collected and distributed to the local food pantries.
That is just heartwarming.
It is, and it is, like I said, it's a combined effort between the Postal Service and the letter carriers, but your letter carriers are the ones out there that are picking it up, making sure that it gets distributed to their local.
And and are they volunteering their time? Is this all on your own time?
Well, as the carrier reaches your mailbox, if there's food out at the mailbox, they will pick it up then, put it in their truck. When they're done with their deliveries for the day, the last thing that they're going to do is drive to the food pantry, where there will be a group of volunteers there, as well as myself, and we will help the letter carriers unload those trucks, put them in boxes. They can use a conveyor, goes downstairs in the food pantry. They also have a bunch of volunteers down there that separate it, stack it, and it's quite an organization that they have working there. Jay Webb and Wendy and all the volunteers just do a fantastic job there.
That's great.
That's really true.
So what about you say that you'll operate for the week afterwards. So again, it's still as the drivers are out there. Or what about on the day, if I think you mentioned to us beforehand that some of the drivers choose not to participate, that it's on a voluntary basis.
That's
A few.
That is from past experience.
Oh.
Yes, we do not have that issue here in Branford.
Oh,
We are
that's great.
100% participant
Wow.
friendly in Branford. So,
Yay, Branford.
yes,
We are
yes.
postal
We're all for
workers.
that.
you know, we have
That's
some
great.
extenuating circumstances where we have, routes that are left open due to people being on vacation or what have you. Those routes get broken up. So whoever is filling in for those routes, they will pick up at the time they reach there, which may be later than your regular carrier. It may be earlier than your regular carrier. So we encourage people to put this food out as early as possible. And then we also, in being New Englanders, run into the issue of inclement weather.
That's, I was just gonna-
We've had times where we've had very rainy days. We've even had snow out there. So,
In May?
Yeah.
oh yeah, April and May.
Well, let it not be.
So it's just a matter of using. We have patrons out there that'll use actually garbage bags. They'll put them in garbage bags and tie them up and put them by their mailbox. Whatever they feel they need to do in order to keep that food, safe for the consumption of the people who actually need it. That's fine with us. We'll pick up anything: paper bags, plastic bags, boxes, anything that they want to put out. And I kind of try to think of it as it's a spring cleaning kind of thing, I mean, all winter long, you're going to the store, you're buying, 10 for $10, kidney beans or pastas or whatever like that, and you find you just don't use them. Some people have items in their pantries that are actually even out of date, the expiration date. That's something that we try to avoid having people put out, because we're just going to have to discard that anyway. It's just not safe for the pantries or whatever to put it out there and give it to their people.
But may I add also that even if maybe some of us don't have items in our pantry that we're not using, that we make a purposeful effort to go out and bring home items to share with our neighbors
That's
who
absolutely.
are not perhaps as fortunate, who don't have access to the money to buy the food as much as they need for their families.
That's absolutely.
So whether we have it or not, let's, from the fullest of heart, donate on the 11th. And so for those of us living in an apartment building, so where there's like just a cluster of,
Mailbox.
the mailboxes, we can just put it all on the ground
Or in the box.
or in the
whatever.
boxes
Yeah.
right there on the ground.
Yes. However you can. Now, one of the things that we do as letter carriers is we will drop a thank you card in your mailbox once we've collected that food. But the thing that we get into is when you're at a cluster box, we're not sure who
That's
gave that
okay,
food.
right.
So if you have, let's just say, maybe you're in a mobile home park or something like that, and you're just putting it out there by the cluster of mailboxes, you can put your unit number on there or whatever it is, and we will make sure that you get a
That's
thank you
very
card.
kind.
And the patrons should also be expecting a few days or even a week prior to the actual collection of the food drive, a card in the mail that we are going to deliver to just jog people's memories as
Yeah.
to the date and the type of items that we are collecting.
Wow. So
That's just such a wonderful.
it's a great operation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Thank
is.
you.
And you seem to have such a genuine passion and dedication to helping our community to flourish.
There's so many people that you can come into contact each and every day that you just don't know what their financial
That's
status
right.
is or their home life or whatever. And hunger is not something that should be taken lightly. I mean, you can endure many different things that go on in your life, but you shouldn't have to endure them by being hungry.
Absolutely.
That's
And,
right.
and just to mention, the food pantry serves 140 to 150 families a week. And every week now, they're getting 4 to 5 new families.
I'm sure.
So the need is so out there, folks, and
Yeah.
we really depend on your kindness and generosity of heart this May 11th.
And speaking of kindness and generosity of heart, I got to mention one other thing, and that is I've seen this in action. When the carriers come in to unload at the food pantry, there is a shelter that's put up, a large shelter by this gentleman right here. Pat goes down and does it, I think the night before?
The night before, yes, sir.
And that is very much appreciated from all those workers and your letter carriers too, I'm sure,
Yep.
to get a little shelter while unloading all that stuff. My
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
it's
I mean,
wonderful.
you know, everybody's volunteering out there. There's no reason why we have to make it harder.
Yeah,
And, you know, anything you can make easier makes everybody happy.
yeah, that's great.
Well, we celebrate you.
Yes,
you,
and
thank
thank you. And thank you too for watching us here at Meet Your Neighbors Branford, and see you at the next episode.
Yes, and also the day before Friday, the 10th of May, if the weather is not inclement, we're going to take you for a brief addition to this episode and show how we're getting ready for this big event.
Yeah, so that it won't be on this program,
it won't
but
be.
we'll give you an update later
and-
on and show that too.
Exactly, and we're also going to film a little bit at the food pantry on the 11th to give the viewers a sense of how their food is being divided and assorted at the pantry. So stay tuned. This will be like a 3-part, fascinating, wonderful community episode.
We also, our branch, which is Branch 19 here in New Haven, we usually sponsor the kickoff for the food
That's
drive, which is
right.
on the Branford Green. People driving by will notice we have a tent out there, and we have people come down and from the pantries, and most of the food drive coordinators from our branch are up there. We have some food to have them just to celebrate what they've done for our branch. Jamie Cosgrove will be there. I just saw him in the
Yeah, we just saw him.
We were talking to him.
in the aisle. Right. So anybody that's going by, honk the horn.
That's
We'll be out there,
wonderful.
supporting it.
And we'll take you with us on that day to give you a sense of what's happening.
So until next time, Meet Your Neighbors, we say adios.
And thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me as well.
And thank you, Pat, so very,
Yeah,
very
you're
much.
welcome.
So
Truly
happy
appreciate it.
spring and happy sharing.
There
Take
it is.
care now.